They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down.
I'm Eva Pilgrim. Thanks for streaming with us. Incredibly graphic testimony today in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. And we have to warn you, some of what you hear
Diddy has done it again, and this time the spectacle is almost too wild to believe. While most people facing years behind bars would be thinking about remorse or rehabilitation, he's making headlines with something entirely different, a party guest list. Yes, you heard that right. Still in custody, still awaiting final sentencing, Diddy is already talking about who gets into his post-prison celebration. The brazenness is staggering. It's less an event than a declaration. He's still powerful, still connected, still untouchable. We can almost picture it. The velvet ropes pulled tight, the champagne towers glittering under lights, and every name on that list carefully chosen to remind us that no matter what the courts say, Diddy is still the man in charge. To the victims, this feels like salt in an open wound, a giant victory lap staged at the scene of a crime.
One of the allegations was that Diddy had the Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Immediately, people identified the rapper as Meek Mill.
The outrage is building because this isn't a private whisper. He isn't even pretending to play low profile. Instead, he's signaling that his influence stretches beyond prison walls, beyond the gavel of a federal judge, straight into the upper echelons of power and celebrity. It's a flex, plain and simple. He's daring the public to stop him, daring the system to hold him accountable when he's already showing he can bend it to his will. The question on everyone's lips is simple. How does a man convicted of transporting people for what prosecutors described as freak-offs walk out of jail with plans for a glittering bash rather than a reputation in ruins? Victims have made it clear what they think is going on. In their eyes, this isn't just about Diddy's ego. They believe the trial itself was tainted, that money and power slipped under the table while the world watched the courtroom drama play out. More than one victim has said, quietly but firmly, that they suspect witnesses were leaned on, that jurors were not immune to incentives that go far beyond coffee and sandwiches in the deliberation room. Was justice ever really blind here? Or were the scales of justice tilted, with stacks of dollars too heavy to ignore? We can't help but ask ourselves, when prosecutors brought over 30 witnesses and still lost the biggest charges, was that because the evidence fell short, or because influence was doing its work behind closed doors?
The government essentially said that Sean Combs led a criminal enterprise for his desires, that he tried to cover up crimes, that he was the leader of this criminal enterprise, and that he committed at least two, that they believe, of these elements that are part of the racketeering conspiracy.
Prosecutors themselves hinted at what many already suspected. They insisted the evidence was overwhelming, describing how Diddy orchestrated every element of his notorious freak-offs. They painted him not as a passive player, but as the mastermind, the director, the man giving the orders and reaping the gratification. He transported across state lines to engage in freak-offs for pay. He directed the activity for his own gratification, and he personally engaged in the activity, the government wrote in its filings. Strong words, damning words. Yet somehow the jury carved him free of the worst charges. It was a split verdict that left the public divided. Some saw it as a technical win for the defense, others as proof that celebrity clout can twist a trial into a circus. And when the man at the center of it all starts planning a gala while victims say their voices were drowned out by hush money, the suspicion only grows stronger. And then there's the second rumor, the one that has insiders buzzing louder than ever, that Diddy didn't just throw money at jurors, but reached higher to political allies who could make sure his sentence landed softly. We already know his camp has been in contact with Donald Trump, a president infamous for dangling pardons like party favors. Sources whisper about backroom promises and quiet conversations where freedom isn't earned in a court but negotiated in the corridors of power. Trump himself couldn't resist playing coy, calling Diddy sort of half-innocent while also admitting a pardon would be more difficult because of past criticism. The fact that this even became a topic at the presidential level tells us everything we need to know about the kind of pull Diddy wields. The man, who once partied with moguls and politicians alike, might be cashing in those favors now, ensuring that his prison stint feels more like a pause between acts than a downfall.
Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
Which brings us back to that guest list, the glittering piece of paper that could expose everything. Who makes the cut? Which celebrities, politicians, and business tycoons are bold enough to stand by Diddy when the world is watching? Their attendance won't just be about friendship. It will be a declaration, a signal that they either don't believe the victims or simply don't care. Each name becomes a clue, each RSVP a revelation. Will we see music legends brushing shoulders with Hollywood stars, pretending the scandal never happened? Or will the roster be full of shadowy figures, the kind who prefer not to be named but always seem to appear in the background when influence is at stake? One thing is certain, whoever dares to walk through those doors will be telling us far more about their own morals and secrets than they realize. And as that list begins to circulate, the spotlight will shift from Diddy himself to the entire ecosystem of power that surrounds him.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil, Astroglide.
The deeper we look, the more disturbing the picture becomes. At the heart of the charges, the infamous freak-off gatherings loom like the dark engine behind this entire scandal. These weren't just private evenings of indulgence. They were elaborate productions stretching over multiple days, fueled by substances, wealth, and power. Witnesses described people being flown across state and even international borders, checked into luxury hotels, and pulled into marathon sessions that blurred the line between performance and captivity. The government argued that these weren't parties at all, but orchestrated spectacles where control and humiliation were the real currency. We have to ask, how many lives were warped forever by nights that were staged for Diddy's amusement? Prosecutors insisted he masterminded every step. Travel agents arranging flights, handlers shuttling people into suites, endless supplies of paraphernalia stockpiled as if these nights were music videos with no cameras. Cassie herself told the court these events became her job, stretching over days until she collapsed in exhaustion. Another former partner, using the pseudonym Jane, echoed the same chilling routine. It wasn't just hedonism, it was repetition, discipline, an industrial machine of pleasure at other people's expense. And while the jury cleared him of the biggest charges, no one could ignore the testimony that laid bare just how systematic these freak-offs had become. They were the backbone of his empire, the secret rhythm behind the music and the fame.
When we got back to New York City, Wendy Williams was in Philly at a new station.
But even here, the story gets murkier. Because standing right at the center of this machine was Cassie, the one-time R&B starlet who has now become both a symbol of courage and, to some, a figure of suspicion. She was the one who first filed a lawsuit that shook the industry to its core, only to settle with him in less than 24 hours for an undisclosed sum. Was it silence that was purchased, or was it simply closure? The timing of her later testimony raises eyebrows. Insiders whisper that Cassie may have played a bigger role in organizing freak-offs than she has admitted. She was often the one making arrangements, booking travel, liaising with handlers. Was she coerced into it, or was she playing a dangerous double role, both participant and gatekeeper? The truth may lie somewhere in between, but it's a truth that still hasn't been fully untangled. That settlement only complicates things further. Why was it resolved so fast, so quietly, and for a sum that remains locked away in secrecy? Victims' advocates say it shows Diddy's mastery at neutralizing threats before they reach the light. Critics of Cassie say it suggests she cut a deal that saved herself while leaving others exposed. Either way, when she later testified in court, her words carried immense weight. Her descriptions of the violence, the intimidation, and the years of psychological control were devastating. But the shadow of that quick payout always lingers. Was her testimony truly a stand for justice, or a calculated maneuver to avoid the same legal fate that her former partner now faces? And yet, even as the world debates Cassie's motives, the freak-off culture continues to haunt the conversation. These weren't isolated episodes. According to prosecutors, they took place in New York, Miami, LA, Atlanta, Las Vegas, Ibiza, and Turks and Caicos. A globe-trotting operation disguised as entertainment, but in reality, a private empire of manipulation. The details are lurid, but the implications are chilling. We aren't just talking about indulgence. We are talking about an entire infrastructure built to facilitate it, one that could not have operated without the silence or complicity of dozens of people. Former employees, industry insiders, even other artists have whispered that everyone knew something, but no one dared to speak out. When a star wields that much power, what choice did they really have?
He's a dope rapper, but I think sometimes Meek falls victim to, I have to explain myself because they be playing with my name.
Yeah.
And the more he responds, the more they...
This is why the guest list matters so much. Because those names don't just reveal who's still willing to toast Diddy, they also hint at who may have looked the other way, who may have benefited, who may still have secrets to lose. If Cassie stands at the center as the most visible figure, then the others remain in the shadows, waiting to see if the spotlight ever catches them. Every RSVP is loaded with implication. Do they believe he is innocent? Do they simply not care? Or do they fear that distancing themselves might expose their own ties to the machine? It's not just gossip. It's a map of power. The celebrity guest list has quickly become the most electrifying piece of this entire scandal, not because of who Diddy invited, but because of what each potential appearance will mean. We know his parties once drew entire armies of stars, from chart-topping rappers to Oscar-winning actors, all happy to bask in the glow of his empire. But now, with the world watching and the accusations stacked high, showing up isn't just a social call, it's a public declaration. Each name that dares to appear will instantly become part of the conversation, whether they like it or not.
Don't trust nobody. In Hollywood, specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
West's name has already been whispered in connection to the guest list. Their history is long and complicated, filled with collaborations, public support, and the occasional clash of egos. If Ye attends, it could be read as solidarity between two embattled men who both believe they've been misunderstood by the system. But it could also drag him even deeper into the crossfire, cementing an image of him standing shoulder to shoulder with someone the public views as toxic. For an artist already juggling endless controversy, would that be the final straw? Or the ultimate rebellion? Kid Cudi presents a different kind of dilemma. Once a younger star navigating the industry under Diddy's shadow, his name came up in trial testimony as part of Cassie's history, a reminder that personal relationships in Hollywood are never entirely private. If Cudi were to appear at the party, it would reignite every rumor about that past and suggest he was willing to overlook the disturbing details now flooding the headlines. Silence might be safer for him, but silence also raises the question, is he hiding loyalty or is he quietly breaking away? Beyond those two, the stakes widen to the entire entertainment sphere. We're talking about megastars who built careers at Diddy's side, who benefited from his label, his connections, his sponsorship deals. If they step back now, they risk being accused of hypocrisy, enjoying his money and influence for years, then abandoning him when things got ugly. But if they show up, they risk being branded as complicit, choosing loyalty over morality. It's a no-win situation, the kind that strips away the glamour and exposes the raw self-interest beneath Hollywood's polished surface.
Let me tell you this. When I get back to New York City, if she's on the radio station, he's talking to a radio executive.
This moment forces us to confront a chilling reality. How many celebrities knew something all along and said nothing? With every leaked video, every victim's testimony, it becomes harder to believe that all of Diddy's peers were completely in the dark. Silence becomes its own form of complicity, and attendance at his party could be interpreted as confirmation that loyalty mattered more than justice. For stars who have carefully crafted brands around empowerment, activism, and social change, the hypocrisy would be glaring. And so the guest list isn't just gossip, it's a moral test. The cameras will catch every arrival, every handshake, every toast. For Hollywood's elite, this is a crossroads. To distance themselves and risk losing old alliances, or to align themselves with a man whose reputation is radioactive. Either way, the fallout will be brutal, and it will expose not just Diddy's choices, but the entire entertainment industry's willingness or refusal to finally draw a line. And let's not forget the political angle. The whispers of backroom deals, the dangling possibility of a presidential pardon, the suggestion that influence reached all the way into the Oval Office. If Diddy walks free and steps onto that red carpet with celebrities and politicians alike, what message does that send to the victims still waiting for justice? What does it tell the public about accountability in a system where fame can be more persuasive than evident? We can't ignore the possibility that his victory party could become a rallying cry, not for redemption, but for impunity.
He said, nobody that I deal with, nobody that I know is gonna do anything with y'all. No business at all.
The entertainment industry itself is already trembling. This isn't just one man's scandal. It's a test of the entire ecosystem that has protected stars for decades. If Diddy can face accusations of intimidation, manipulation, and exploitation on a massive scale and still emerge ready to party with the elite, what hope is there for the next victim who dares to speak out? Are we watching the beginning of a reckoning or the end of accountability altogether? The guest list, Cassie's ambiguous role, the rumors of political protection, all of it combines into one terrifying question. Has Diddy's survival proven that the powerful can do whatever they want, whenever they want, without consequence? So as we wait for that glittering door to open and the cameras to flash, we're left wondering who will stand beside him, who will distance themselves, and who might yet be dragged into the light. Will this party be remembered as a triumphant comeback, or as the night that finally exposed just how deep the rot runs in the worlds of music, politics, and celebrity culture? Tell us, do you think this guest list will end Diddy's career once and for all? Or will it become the most shocking symbol of how untouchable the rich and famous truly are? We'll be watching every move. Until next time, stay sharp, stay loud, and don't look away.